Welcome, where we are rooted in spirit and we transmit only what is coherent. We mirror only what is true.
Where we get real, get rooted, and we stay free. Welcome to Rooted in Spirit. Okay, so today we're going to do things a little different. We're going to do a Q&A so y'all can really get to know us and ask those questions that you've been wanting to ask your practitioner, your healer, whoever it is that your go-to person is. So we ask our clients some questions to maybe help you guys if you're thinking the same thing or something similar or you resonate with those questions. We ask our clients to give us some questions that maybe someone who's going through an awakening or whatever the question is, you may resonate with that. So if you see me looking down, I have my trusty iPad here and I'm going to read off those questions. Matrielle, how are you doing today before we get started?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm just moving slowly today.
I know. I mean, do you think it's something in the just collective? Because I'm moving slowly today too. And for
Yeah.
you guys to even know, we had some technical difficulties, or I had some technical difficulties. This is like the second tape with this. So it's collectively something is going on with the energy.
Yes, I feel it too, for sure.
Yeah. So let's start with the first question that our clients want to know. And the first one is, how can I protect myself from lower vibrational energies or negative thought forms?
Yeah, this is a question that many clients ask me. And it's also been something that has evolved over the years of like
Mhm.
this idea of protection. I used to have this point of view that, we have to be really careful. We have to protect ourselves because there's so many, negative thought forms and energies out there that can really invade our field. And
Make
as
it.
I as I evolved as a healer and soul coach, I began to realize that how that was kind of setting us up
Mhm.
for more problems, more things
Mhm.
to come into our field. So, having said that, I still am aware that protection is a good idea, but I don't go at it in a fearful way or a grasping way. I have a practice, and in my 7-step practice, the seventh step is protection. And so I'll just go over that. And if
Okay.
that resonates with everybody, they can try it. And in our comments below, there's a link to a free gift when you opt in with us, where you get the whole 12-page PDF that
Ooh.
explains the whole practice. But for just for the sake of answering this question, I'm going to talk about step 7.
Okay.
And so what I do is I imagine that I'm connecting with the central sun of the universe,
Mhm.
which is pure organic light. I see it moving down into my crown through my body. And then I envision it coming out of my third eye in the center of my forehead. And I wrap that light from above my head down around my physical and auric field, down below my feet. And I wrap it again, imagining it coming all the way up and double wrapping around the heart center. And then I take my hands out in front of me and I make a ring of fire or light, and
Mhm.
I send it down and then I send it back up until I imagine I'm in a cylinder of fire. I'm wrapped in light for my absolute protection. And then I say protecting over and over again until my body literally sways forward naturally 3 times. And that indicates for me that the protection field is up. And then I don't think about it. I don't worry, am I protected? I'm not like looking around for bad situations. Oh, am I
Right.
protected enough? It's really important to keep your mind in a place of just knowing I am already protected. And if you are really strong in that place and really sovereign in believing you're protected, you actually don't even need to do that protection exercise. But a lot of people struggle to come into that place where they really know it and believe it. And so, for those of you that are not sure, it's good to have a practice.
I like that. I like that. And for me, just for those that's newly on that spiritual path, I was all into crystals. I use a lot of different tools to help me sustain that idea of being protected because just being new onto it, I was still learning buzzwords, the lingo. I was learning different practices and I didn't even know which practice to do or what would work for me because I was given so much information. I was like hogging all type of spiritual information and I thought that, once you feel like you're becoming awakened that you need to stay protected at all times because there's going to be some type of negative energy, demon, because I always go all the way there was coming after you because your light now is shining. So I wore
Yeah.
crystals, I wore different types of crystals. I invested in the tourmaline, the obsidian, the amethyst. For whatever reason, I had that crystal that supported that. And then I went with certain rituals. There was kind of like a spell, a ritual that I would say to feel protected because I didn't feel that my energy alone was enough, in the early on stage with that. I had other psychic healers to give me a affirmation to say certain things to keep me feeling safe or that illusion of feeling safe with that.
Mm.
But once you realize that you're a sovereign being and you hold all the power, you won't need to use those tools. But in the meantime, if you need to use them, by all means use them, but know that they're only a tool to support your own energy. And we do have our spiritual guides, our loved ones supporting us from the different dimension, but that's supporting us. And
Yes.
we have to remember that we are powered to do that, our own protection as well. And I want to leave you guys with that question. I get it. Early on, you're going to use those tools, and by all means, use them until you don't need to use them and know that you
Yeah.
are the tool. You won't need that.
Absolutely. I love the way you put that. And that's basically where I think we're both at
Yeah.
this point. I do have a funny story. Well, it was a kind of a strange story of how protection can work, even when you're not even thinking about it, right?
Mhm.
So I was with my son in a mall in Bali, Indonesia, and they had been excavating the parking lot. So there was a deep, 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 deep hole. And as we walked by it, something shifted in the energy, and it felt like we were walking into a kind of portal.
Uh-huh.
And my son felt it as well. He's also a sensitive. And suddenly I'm out there going like this, moving my hands, and he's like doing something too. And I'm like, whoa. And he was able to see our
Mhm.
guides were fighting to protect us from these interesting beings that had come up, had been excavated up from that parking lot hole, and they were protecting us.
Yeah.
And so that was really, they were fighting for us and protecting us. And so that was really profound. That was a really big moment for me. And it really made me realize how protected I am, you know? So even if you feel like, oh, maybe I'm not feeling strong today, I'm not protected. For those of you who work with guides or helping spirits, they will definitely be there to protect you. And
Yeah.
they might just surprise you.
Right. And just call on them. Even if you don't know who your guides are, just say, you know what, I know I'm supported and I'm loved and protected.
Right.
I call on Source. I call on God. I call on Jesus. Whoever you need to call on, invoke that into your energy field to push out any negative energy that may impede on your energy.
Absolutely. Well, I know a lot of clients have been asking you this question,
Mhm.
like how do I stay grounded when everything around me is falling apart? Because a lot of people are going through big shifts right now and
Mhm.
they're struggling with that. So what do you think about that, Shataka?
That's definitely a loaded question with that. I always go back to that roller coaster. We're always going to be on some type of roller coaster in our life. And Sometimes you're going to be on a two-seater and sometimes it's going to be the one-seater. It's sustaining your own energy. First, recognizing, is it yours? Is it mine's what I'm feeling, or is it my family, my friend, TV, society? Distinguish what's yours and what's not yours. Now, if
Right.
it's yours, then I go in and asking those questions, is this something I'm basing out of fear? Is this a familiar pattern for me? Identify that emotion, why you're feeling those ways. And once you identify the emotion, really look into it and ask, is this really true? Is this my belief? And if it is my beliefs, what do I need to do to transform or transmute this belief? Because this
Mhm.
is no longer serving my highest good with that.
Right, right.
So what do
Those-
you do?
Well, for me, definitely the 7-step practice
Yeah.
is part of that practice is grounding. And also, I do my breath coherence meditations.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the best ways to get grounded for me is to be in nature. Like I
Mm-hmm.
went to the ocean yesterday, I was swimming in the ocean, and I just felt so good. Like being in nature is its own medicine. And if
Yeah.
you can't get into nature, maybe if you can even walk barefoot in your garden
Yeah.
or hug a tree, or lean against a tree, just connect and commune with nature, I think is one of the best ways that I get grounded.
And
Yeah.
see, here where I'm at, it's hot. So
It
I'm
is.
kind of avoiding going outside, getting into nature. So another practice that I do is I use the mirror work. I talk to myself and whatever it is that I'm going through, if I have to tell myself, you're a badass, Shataka, you got this, you're safe. You don't need anyone else to validate you. You
Yeah.
deserving, you're loving, you are successful. So whatever it is that you're in fearful of, I say talk to yourself. Your body responds to everything that you're saying. And if you're looking into the mirror, you're speaking directly to you, to those versions and aspects of you. I do a lot of mirror work.
Mm, interesting. Yeah. I've done a bit myself, but it's been a while, but I think it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I guess another question that the clients are asking, how can I clear myself from heavy or stuck energy?
Yeah, this question gets asked a lot in when I'm working with people. And there's so many answers to this. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking about it. One of the things I already said, going into the ocean,
Yeah.
really great way to clear yourself. The seawater, the ocean's natural sea salt is a purifier. This is a
Yeah.
really, really great way to clear yourself. But there's also other tools we can use, like smudging, where we
Mhm.
take sacred herbs such as sage or palo santo. Here in Mexico, we use copal,
Mhm.
and we burn it, and we can move the smoke over our field and all around us. And this is a really beautiful way to cleanse those
Mhm.
energies. Also, I've done sort of like Olympia baths. I've taken tobacco and boiled the leaves and taken the water and put that over me, or other sacred herbs like rose or rosemary, and create a kind of sacred Olympia bath to
Mhm.
wash your field. This is a really beautiful way to cleanse yourself, or take, you know, go to the river and do that in the river if you
Yeah.
can, if you have access to the river. There's just so many, yeah, possibilities. How about you? How do you cleanse your field? What do you usually do?
For one, I do the spiritual baths too, and it's different herbs I need to use. My spiritual team kind of tell me the herbs that I need to put in there. And also I identify, so the stuck energy, fill in block. Look and see where am I feeling that at in my body. So
Yeah.
once I identify the area that I'm feeling stuck, it's usually connected to the sort of chakra in that area. So I connect the beliefs connected to that
Oh,
chakra in
wow.
that area. So again, when I, know the belief, I transform that belief and I use positive affirmations to counteract that for me. And I visualize. And when I visualize, depending on the chakra, I visualize that color, that I'm shining that color into that chakra and breaking up all that stuck energy. And while I'm breaking it up, I'm saying those affirmations that'll support the belief that I would like to have now.
That's also a really nice way. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you've done that with me before too, and
Hmm.
sessions with me. So it was very, very powerful.
Yeah.
The other thing is, this is an interesting question, and
Okay.
I think it's something that came up for me before,
Hmm.
which is there an on-off switch to connect to spirit and source? And why, I guess I want to add to that, why would we want an on-off
Right.
switch? Yeah.
So I don't think we want to on and off switch, maybe just using discernment, but there are times where, you'll have great days, good days where you see love and light and everything. And then there's days where it feels like you're disconnected. And, that
Right.
was a big word for me. I'm like, okay, I don't feel connected to source. I don't feel connected to my team. And really what it boils down to, I just wasn't connected to myself. And
Right.
I identified that with, being with my spiritual team because I couldn't come up with the answers or I wasn't hearing them clearly. I wasn't getting the visuals that I normally get because I needed to sit still. And sometimes
Right.
you can become so codependent on your spiritual team where you
Hmm.
don't empower or stand in your own power. And that's
Yeah.
what they really encourage us to do, not use them all the time. It's more about a support. It's more about God. They want you to stand in your own power. They want you to feel empowered with that.
I think
I
for
get
me
that message all the
sometimes,
time with my team. They used to call me the confirmation queen because I needed a confirmation from a confirmation for a
ah,
confirmation. Now it's, that knowing feels totally different than uncertainty.
yeah. Yeah, I think you've brought up something really interesting because I'm the opposite. I think I try to depend too much on myself, and my team is like, you need
Mm.
to reach out. We're waiting to talk to you. Like, why aren't you reaching out more? And I think I don't want to burden them, or like,
Mm.
and then they're like, no, you can reach out to us. So I'm a
Yes.
little bit on the opposite scale. I need to ask for um, their assistance more, their support more. So we can go either way, or we
Yeah.
can come to the middle with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's all about building a relationship with your team, trusting your team and know what trusting your team feels like. Because you really gotta be able to distinguish your energy versus your guide's energy or
Uh-huh.
versus someone else's energy, because you do have people that will try to leech off of your energy. We call them spiritual vampires. So you do have to be mindful of that. That's why it's important to know what your yeses feel like. It's
Mhm.
important to know what love feel like through your energy, through your lens, and not, to be dependent on someone else with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really a good point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I guess this ties into that. How can I discern if the person I'm attracted to is honest and safe, or if there's any red flags? With all those gifts that you have, how does that work having a relationship?
Well, I've had some field tests recently, and I think I shared in the last episode about the very strange situation with a man that I just met on the street, and it just like I could feel in my body that while he was speaking all the right sort of spiritual terms and everything, my body was just like saying no,
Yeah.
no, it was a very clear no. I was listening to my higher self, my body. And in that moment, I didn't need to call my team. I just knew, like, I'm like, no, no, no. And then on the opposite scale, I spent time with another, male friend recently,
Mhm.
and the difference was so extreme. Like, I felt
Mhm.
very safe. I felt very grounded in his presence. I felt very stable. I felt sovereign, like I didn't have to shrink. I could be who I
Mhm.
am. And I think that's how you tell, like, when that person is is the right person, you will feel those kind of feelings. And if they're not, and you're feeling unsure, a lot of anxiety, you're not, start to question yourself, am I good enough? Or all of these things are coming up. That's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least that's how I do it. Yeah. How
See,
about you?
I struggled with the relationship piece because when in 2019, when my gifts really was amplified, I guess it ties into that question before. I didn't know how to shut that off. And
Ah,
people I would meet that I'm interested in, I knew when they was lying. I knew when they was fluffing something. And I was
uh-huh.
able to see more than I wanted to see behind the veil with some of, the people that I was interested in till it made it really hard for me to date because
Uh-huh.
I kind of knew things about them and I didn't allow myself time to get to truly know them. But when you know things about
Right.
someone, you kind of cut that off quick. So I went through a long stage of hibernating, truly getting to know myself, understanding my patterns, understanding why I was choosing the same people over and over. So when someone comes into my awareness, it wouldn't be that person that would fluff or would tell me things that I want to hear, gaslight me, as they say, or just not even just be honest with how many people they're dating, whatever's going on in their life. Now, where I'm at this stage, I'm going to attract someone that's healed, that's accountable for their own happiness and emotion, and is open and honest and willing to share their reality,
Yeah.
their world with me. And
Yeah.
communication, that is so important,
So
having
important.
that open and honest communication with someone, not having to peek behind the veil and see what's truly going on. I don't want to do that, and
No.
I had to learn how to turn it off. So that's one of the switches. So I'm very visual. I will imagine a light switch and I will just flip my light switch on and off. That's how I
Yeah.
do mine. So I visualize everything that I want to see happen. That's how I'm able to attract, or you would say, amplify certain things by my visuals. And, I hear my guides talking to me and saying, Shataka, this or that, but I'm usually seeing a movie clip of what's truly going on.
That's nice. That's really nice. As you were talking, another thing popped in. I think that's an important point about all of this is that consistency. How is this person showing up? Are they saying one thing and doing another?
Yeah.
Or are they in integrity with what they say and what they do? So if you're meeting somebody, there's a lot of inconsistencies, uncertainty, that's a red flag. But if you're with somebody who is really actioning what they say
Yep.
and they're consistent with that, that's a really good sign as well. And I know that there's a kind of programming that I think happens with a lot of women in
Hmm.
heterosexual relationships. I'm not sure about gay relationships as much, but it could be similar. But where it's almost like the more sort of mysterious and
Yeah.
uncertain the man is, the more the woman will want to chase them. And maybe that also happens in gay relationships too. I'm sure it probably does. So it's a programming of like thinking that that's what makes it exciting is to run
Yeah.
after the partner when actually that's a programming that isn't serving you.
Right.
So what if you could start to change that programming, change that pattern of or that belief and begin to understand that safety, peace and
Mhm.
calm, stability is actually way more attractive
Yeah.
than having that instability and all of that uncertainty that actually ends up causing you a lot of pain and suffering.
Yeah, I think that's for, when we was younger or unhealed, you go for the bad boy type,
Yeah.
and that's because you felt like the bad boy type could keep you safe. where you wasn't feeling safe in your own energy based on traumatic triggers or whatever it was. You wasn't feeling safe in your own energy. So we would gravitate towards the bad boy. But now, not so much.
Not anymore. No, no, I'm not interested.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Oh, wonderful.
So, another question. How can I have more peace and balance in my daily life?
Yeah, this question gets asked a lot, especially with many of my clients are kind of corporate clients or
Mm-hmm.
they're entrepreneurs and they're living a very high stressed life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I often tell them, like incorporate time for yourself, like doing a yoga practice or qigong or meditation. I have one client who loves dancing, that brings her joy. And so I said, this is important. This is what nurtures your soul.
Yeah.
Whatever brings us joy is nurturing our soul. And so making space for the things that you love and also for going inward, taking time out to do these kind of mind, body, spirit practices, whether it's yoga, tai chi, qigong, meditation, or in my case, I do the breath coherence meditations, or I go for a walk in nature. All of those things I feel will definitely cultivate uh, so much more peace and calm in your life.
Yeah, I agree.
How,
I
how about
agree.
you? How about you, Shataka?
I would say first, identify what's causing you chaos in your life. Understanding what that is, and if there's something you can shift or change, work through that first. Because your peace is a natural state. You shouldn't have to try to create peace. Peace should be your natural being. So whatever's causing you chaos, identify what it is and, heal through it, talk yourself through it. Or again, I like music and I like water, but the shower type of water, because I can't swim. But I love water. So when I'm in my shower, I talk to myself and I talk to my team. And I'm doing a lot of self-reflection with that. And I don't speak so much on what I don't have or what I'm not doing. It's more positive when, oh, Shataka, you had a great day. Shataka, you were so productive. Shataka, oh, you met a lot of interesting people. So I talk more positive to myself and about myself. And whenever I have those days, because we're going to have those days, I always check in and say, what could have I done different? Now, if there's nothing I couldn't done different, I leave it where it's at because that wasn't mine. Anybody else stuff, I don't take it on mine. I leave it there. But if it was something I could have done different, I recognize it, own it, and move from it and release it. Because there's no need to hold on to something that I can't change because we can only live in the present. What happened? Yes, you can self-reflect, but once you become aware of that, release that shit because you don't need to take it on till tomorrow or the next day. Because
Yeah.
that's a lot of the issues, that's what's keeping chaos active in your body and in your mind because you're trying to rethink what could I have done different, but you're bringing it into tomorrow and still doing the same thing. So you're gonna have to take action. You're gonna have to shift. You're gonna have to change. Sometimes we have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. And it's just
Yeah.
fear. That uncomfortable is just fear of the unknown. I mean, I
Yeah.
was the queen of the fear of the unknown. I needed to control every outcome in my life. And trying to control every outcome will create more chaos, create more stress within your body, which creates dis-ease, which creates so much other things that you don't even need in your body. So shift out of that. Leave that fear shit from yesterday, leave it there because you don't have to take it in today. Speak kind to yourself, give yourself grace, forgive yourself. We don't do enough of that. We always speaking about what we should have done. I should have did this. I could have done that. Let that go. Right now is all we need is being present, being. We so used to doing. We need to be in the state of being.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely key, being present for me. The more that I'm in the present, the less that I go into a loop, because I know a lot of people go
Mhm.
into a loop. And exactly what you said, if you can't let go of what happened tomorrow and you're still thinking about it, or yesterday and you're still thinking about it tomorrow, then you end up going into this recursive loop where you
Yeah.
just keep going over and over and over again. And that is going to, be a hindrance to you being able to embody that peace and calm. So yeah, I think that's really good advice, to just stay in the present for sure.
So do
Wonderful.
you have any clients that has reoccurring dreams or similar dreams? And if so, is there anything that you do with that?
Currently, I don't have any
Okay.
clients with reoccurring dreams. I have reoccurring dreams where I'm going back to, I'm in university again, and
Mhm.
I can't remember where my classes are. And then I go to my locker and I don't remember the combination. And I'm trying, and then I go to the administrative office to get a printout to find out where my classes are. And it's like a very chaotic dream that it
Mhm.
doesn't happen all the time, but I have it maybe once or twice a year. And I'm like, what is this dream trying to tell me?
Mhm.
And so I know that the dreams are a doorway to the unconscious, and
Right,
Carl Jung, I read
right.
his amazing book called Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, I believe, when I was in
Mhm.
university. And that was a very insightful book. It taught me a lot about how we're working through so much in our dreams. And I believe that. And I know as a shamanic practitioner, there's a lot that goes with dreams in that realm as well. But what about you? Are you getting a lot of clients who have reoccurring dreams?
I am, because
Yeah.
you kind of attract similar clients that you have some of the similar things, and I'm a very vivid dreamer. So sometimes my questions and answers will come through my dreams, and there's always a theme. If you're constantly being chased, you're running from something.
Yeah.
If you're falling, there's something deep going within. So there is a theme, and I tell my clients to write it down or record the dream as soon as you get up because once you start moving around, you'll forget it. And, if I'm not available or they don't have anyone to talk to, put it in ChatGPT or Claude to see for them to interpret the dream to see if there's a certain theme in your life and, kind of identify what's going on with you right now. Are you worried about changing jobs or, are you worried about your future? What's chasing you? So you kind of got to dig into it, but there's always a theme. And one of my most recent downloads were my guys were telling me that everyone has themes, synchronicities, patterns in their life, and the more you become aware of yourself, you
Yeah.
see those patterns. Just for instance, there's a lot of Roys and Leroys, in my immediate family and life. There's the same Sagittarius and Virgos in my whole family. We are either Sagittarius rising or Virgo rising, from my mom to my kids to my grandkids. Now, that is not no coincidence with that. You know, there's people I've dated that was on the same birth date. I've dated people on the same birthday. So you'll see patterns and themes in your life. You'll date someone that has the same name as someone in your family. You'll date a lot of the same names, a lot of the same birth dates to start coming up. Same zodiac sign. Just be aware of the similarities that's in your life, and you can kind of see the synchronicities, the players that's playing in your reality. And I thought that was very interesting. So then I started looking, I was like, oh my God, I never paid attention to that. How many certain people I was dating, the birth dates, the numbers, the same repeated numbers was coming up for me. I was like, I never paid attention to that.
Well, I haven't had that many synchronicities with the people that I was dating, or who I ended up married to.
Mhm.
But there was one pattern that I noticed was with Geminis.
Mhm.
There were, like, I had Gemini friends, and then my ex-husband was a Gemini, or is a Gemini. And what I began to see for me
Mhm.
anyway, is that, whoa, Geminis are not good for me. They always ended up betraying me. They
Mhm.
always ended up doing something that would kind of stab me in the back. I really, really had some challenging lessons
Mhm.
with Geminis. And I once read or saw a reel, I can't remember what it was, that the two signs on the either side of yours are the ones that you're going to be working with the most lessons
Mhm.
in your
Mhm.
life. And so I was like, Gemini, no, thank you. No more Geminis. I don't need this
Right.
pattern anymore. That's the only pattern I noticed, yeah, in my life.
The Geminis have been the people that I mostly dated. I'm gonna say 80% have been Geminis. My daughter is Gemini. My grandkids Gemini. I've been surrounded. I have a Gemini moon. So I've been surrounded by Geminis. The number 13 is, people I say four people I've dated. My grandson. It's just the number 13 is very relevant in my life. 24 is relevant in my life. Certain names have been carrying. So I'm seeing the pattern of the players in my life because it's showing you the players that's
Yeah,
taking role in your life. There's going to be a pattern. There's going to be a certain name. So I encourage people to really look into that to see if you've
yeah,
dated people, with a lot of similarities. The important people that's in your life, you'll see you have the same birthday, same zodiac sign. There will be a theme.
yeah, I think so. I think that's a really good point. Well, I thought I'd ask you one more question, and I think this is one that a lot of my clients have asked me. I'm sure they've asked you.
Okay.
How do you open yourself to receiving in life? Receiving abundance, receiving love, receiving whatever it is you wish for.
I would tie it back to me being very visual. Um, I kind of visualize what it is, that I'm wanting to attract. And also, I visualize my heart opening up. And sometimes it depends on what it is that I'm wanting to attract. So if it's love, I visualize my heart opening up, attracting that loving person that's checking all the boxes for me. And if it's more connection to my spiritual team or to source, I visualize my crown opening up, getting more downloads and with the pure white light. So I'm very visual with that. And I also, for practices, for those my clients that, want to enhance their psychic abilities, we usually do practices where I will be the receiver and let them be the sender, and then we'll do it vice versa with that. So we usually play with like three playing cards, and we'll start off with that, and I will send the card to them, and they will send the card to me. So using that muscle, so they will become more and more aware of that. After we do it, I give them homework to do that with loved ones or with family. Create a game out of it with that. So understand how to be the receiver, even with your significant other or partner. You guys could do that and say, I'm sending you something right now. Tell me, what are you getting? That's using that muscle, learning how to
Yeah.
be a good receiver and a sender at that. Because sometimes you don't even realize you're a good sender because you didn't send some shit to somebody like, I hope they don't call me. And guess what? They done called you. So you got to be very mindful of the things you say because it all works hand in hand with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And just to even add to that, when I'm connecting to my team, depends on if I'm going into a channeling mode, and sometimes I don't even realize I'm going into a channeling mode
Yeah.
because the things that come out, I'm like, oh, wow, I could use that myself. But I usually center myself. I take deep breaths, long releases, and then I imagine and visualize my crown opening up, for my team. And I'll call whatever team that I'm calling, if it's calling Archangel Michael or Council of Light or another being or an ancestor. It just depends on what it is that I need, but I call them in. And usually I get a ringing in my ear if it's on the right or the left, masculine or feminine, or my body will start shaking
Uh-huh.
When the energy, because when I'm connecting with source energy or a certain angel, I really start shaking because that energy is so strong till I have to like ground myself, when they're coming in. But they're usually come on my left side or my right side, whichever side they come, I shift over to the opposite side and allow them to come in. And then I, just sit on the side, listen like, oh, that's some good information. I'm gonna use that for myself. So that's how I allow my team to come in and I be a conduit for whichever guide that is. But it's not often that I do that, only to certain people or clients. Is usually tailored to whatever they need. And sometimes I just go into spontaneous channeling mode where we could just be talking and I'm consciously channeling. Sometimes I'm unconsciously channeling when I'm not realizing that I'm channeling. But then there's times I'm intentionally channeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to that. I mean, sometimes it just hits me and I'm having a conversation with a friend and then I start to channel. Like I
Hmm.
wasn't planning to, but spirit is like, hey, we have
Hmm.
a message for this person. And like you said, sometimes it's unconscious and then I later might become conscious or
Hmm.
not. But it happens quite a lot. And I think it's just being an open channel.
Yeah,
The more that we have that intention to be open, we can receive that kind of wisdom and information from both our higher self and from our guides, from source.
yeah.
And my tell is less visual. It's
Hmm.
more like I get like shivers or chills
Hmm.
or like sensations down my whole body when spirit comes through. I'm like, wow, I can really
Okay.
feel that confirmation. I can really feel it. It comes through that way. But in terms of the heart, like receiving love, I think, yeah, I think doing focused visualizations or prayer to open our heart for love and holding that intention, but also acknowledging that we have all the love we need within us and that
Yeah,
I am a magnet for love and for someone who is coherent with me to be magnetized to me and that I don't need to chase that
yeah.
person. Because whatever we chase after wants to run away, right?
It's
Chasing
true.
after it is like, whoa, I'm scared. Why are you chasing me? So the more that we can just be in that receptivity of receiving without having to effort it, the more it comes through.
Hmm.
And I noticed this week I just was really in that receptivity and not trying to chase down any new clients. And then suddenly people are contacting me from Bali, from the
Yeah,
US, from here in Mexico. I'm like, whoa, what happened? Because I became more centered and coherent. I wasn't trying to do this and trying to do that or marketing or and I think a lot of people have this point of view that the only way I'm going to receive is if I go for it. I have to go after it and I have to chase it. But actually, it's the opposite. We just have to be in our stillness and in our center
yeah.
and trust and surrender. And the more that we can do that, the more we can receive, I feel.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I'm gonna say the last question. Well, it was many questions, but for tonight, I will say, doing your, and I know you've been on your journey, for a lot of years. During your journey, is there any specific time or event that stands out where you saw something that you couldn't explain to anyone that ain't in this world?
Wow, that's a great question. I've seen so many crazy things, to be honest. A specific event that I couldn't explain. I'm just thinking about it. I guess it brings me back to I used to hold retreats in Bali,
Hmm.
and I had two women come on my intermediate shamanic training.
Hmm.
And it seemed to be that Bali, every time I would do something like that, something bizarre would happen,
Hmm.
really bizarre. And at the time, things were not copacetic with then husband.
Mm-hmm.
He had gone to a very dark place. I don't know what was going on with him, but he was in a dark place. And that was happening simultaneously while I was holding space for these two women. And I was
Mm-hmm.
able to maintain that space and stay coherent with whatever was happening with him, which was a
Mm-hmm.
miracle. Anyway, I took them as part of the retreat training experience to meet my teacher, who her name is Ibu Ayu Chantik, and she's amazing. She's a dasar, so she channels spirit through dance, and so she
Okay.
taught me how to work with spirit through dance. And I thought it would be a really beautiful experience. And my husband was taking us there because it's out in the rice fields. I didn't really know how to get there. He knew how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just acting really, really strange. And so I finally went up to my teacher. I never ever asked her for help unless I really, really needed it because I really honored that she was there for the people, the local
Right.
people, and I didn't want to take advantage of her. I'm just not that kind of person, but I could feel there was a lot of darkness and, and that it was going to affect these two women's experience. And so I said to her, I think that my husband might have some kind of attachment entity or demon. Something isn't right. And
Mm-hmm.
I can't deal with this right now because I'm here with these people. Could you please help me? And she looked at me and she smiled. She says, I'll take care of it. Just go over there in the courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
And it might have been 5 minutes that passed, and she just went like this and nodded her head. And we
Mm-hmm.
went into the ashram, and he was like a completely different person. He
Wow.
was just like that whole darkness just disappeared. And I was like, wow. And then we came back, driving back. He was a total gentleman. He was just like,
Hmm.
yeah, it was really surprising how quickly she shifted that. I mean, she's a powerful woman. I'm not surprised, I guess. And so that was something that I couldn't really explain, but I knew it was real. It was
Wow.
real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How
So,
about how about you? Did you have anything like this happen or?
oh my gosh, I had so many things happen, especially early on when my gifts were amplified and I didn't really understand them or even have discernment because I didn't even know what discernment or boundaries meant. I was just so excited to feel belonged or feel like I'm a part of the community. So one night, and I can still remember like it was yesterday. So I'm gonna build the story up with that. So one night, I was just sitting on my bed. I think I had just finished meditating. I was just terrible at meditating because it was hard for me to sit still. But I was attempting to meditate, and sometimes when I go into meditation, I just drift off. I go into different alter states, different dimensions. I travel. And so that particular night, it's like my whole mind just opened up and I saw three beings, and they were all tall, gray beings that I've only seen on TV before. And so it's like they were coming behind a yellow curtain, and I'm just seeing this play out like a movie in my head, and I'm not asleep. So they're coming out from a yellow curtain, they were coming toward me. And I said, no, no, what are you doing? Not right now. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And they started backing back. But it was so surreal. I'm like, okay,
Wow.
I'm not ready to see all of that. I'm not ready to see all of that. Take your time with me because this is new for me. I'm still coming out of those Christian beliefs. And so later on that night, when I went to sleep, I kid you not, so I just kind of raised up out of my bed, and it was just me in the room by myself. I was in hibernation state, so it was just me, and I raised up out of the bed, and at the foot of my bed, there was a small gray alien at the foot of my bed that had on like a uniform. And but this particular alien wasn't tall. He was short. He was tall enough for me to see, over my bed. I have a pretty high bed, but he was tall enough for me to see over my bed. And when I looked at him, we just locked eyes for a minute. And I was like, huh, There's a damn alien in my room. I didn't know how to respond. I didn't feel any type of fear. I wasn't afraid, and I'm surprised I wasn't afraid because I was afraid that vision I had. But this particular, because they were really tall and they looked a little scary to me. But this particular one, he looked familiar to me. That was a familiar energy, with him, and I just didn't have any fear. So when I said, hmm, it's a damn alien at the end of my bed, when we locked eyes, I just remember laying back. So I felt like he told me that everything is okay. You can go back to sleep.
Wow.
And I laid and went back to sleep. And when I woke up that morning, I'm like, that was a very vivid dream. I'm like, no, that wasn't a dream because I'm remembering too much. And on my way to work, I'm going to work and I'm driving and I'm still thinking about what I just saw. Like, ain't nobody gonna fucking believe me. They gonna think I'm crazy right now. I'm already going through this awakening. Everybody's gonna be like, yeah, it's time to commit her. So as I'm driving, I see three spaceships that look like triangles, but they were upside down triangles. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on with me? If they finna take me? That's what I'm thinking, that they was finna abduct me. I'm like, what's going on? So I bent down to get my phone to take a picture. I said, because nobody is gonna believe me this. And I can't believe I'm telling this to people now, but nobody is gonna believe me. So when I went up to take the picture, they were gone. I
Of
went to
course.
work quiet all day, still processing what just happened to me.
Wow. That's an incredible story,
Yeah.
Shataka. It's a
I know.
great way to end the show.
I know. So it's real. I mean, yeah, I still can see it like it was today.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe you. And I'd love to hear from our followers and tell us about your, extraordinary stories. Please comment and let us know and like our show, subscribe, and get your free gift when you opt in with us. And that will keep you up to date with our special offerings and so forth. We're planning to be doing some master classes, and we'd love to be able to offer that in service
Right.
to all of you who are part of our community. We thank you so much for your support.
And if you have any questions you would like for us to share or answer for you, please
Yes,
add it to the comments as well.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.